Hello, everybody. Hey, you know what this coming Sunday is? Christ the King Sunday. You know what that means, don't you? Advent and Christmas. Right around the corner. Yeah. And Christ the King Sunday is when we celebrate the culmination of everything we've talked about all year long. And we say, Jesus is Lord, Jesus is King, God is King, all those different things. And our psalm that we have for today speaks to that. It's one of the five enthronement psalms, as we call them in the Psaltery, speaking about Yahweh being King of the universe, his universal reign over everyone. It's only 5 verses long, and you can see in this psalm this back and forth type of uh, response that the people would speak about God, about Yahweh, and then the priest would speak to Yahweh on behalf of the people. So it would begin with the people saying, "Hey, the Lord is King. He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed. He is girded with strength. He has established the world. It shall never be moved." And then the priest would look up and say to God, "Your throne is established from of old. You are from everlasting. The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. The floods lift up their roaring." And then the people would respond, "More majestic than the thunders of mighty waters, more majestic than the waves of the sea. Majestic on high is the Lord." And then the priest would finish it off with, "Your decrees are very sure. Holiness befits your house, O Lord, forevermore." It's a wonderful psalm. It's a beautiful psalm for us to use on this Christ the King Sunday. Now, there's some interesting things about that, and you can see within the psalm patterns that are established. Um, it starts out, the very beginning of it, making the declaration, who is king? It is the Lord. And if you look in your translation, the Lord is in caps, all uppercase, which means Yahweh. Yahweh is king. Now, something interesting about that, it's only two words in the Hebrew. And the way the words are constructed, really it should be translated, Yahweh is becoming king. What? Wait a minute. We're talking about him being king forever. He's always been king. What do you mean he's becoming king? Well, this could indicate that this was truly a psalm of enthronement, a yearly celebration in which the people would once again celebrate the fact that he is king. But it also could be a reference to the people. Now remember, they're in captivity in Babylon when most of these psalms are composed, and then later on they're written down once they come back to Jerusalem, because they want to remember all these and use them in their worship. And see, they're in Babylon. They're surrounded with all these other gods. One of them is Baal. Baal gets into this big fight with the water god Yam and defeats Yam. And you have all that imagery coming up, right? About the water, the roaring, the floods have lifted up, their voice, all that sort of thing. And Baal wins. Baal defeats him. Baal becomes their king. Along come the Israelites and say, "You know what? Baal's not king. Yahweh is king." And they kind of steal this. It's much like, believe it or not, as Christians, we've co-opted Christmas as our choice of times to celebrate Jesus' birth. Why? Because it goes head to head against, or at least it did, way back when, all the celebration of the Romans gods and the sun god uh, coming back to life after going into deep darkness, all that sort of thing, right? Well, it's very possible that's what was going on here. And it's kind of a cool thing. You also see a series of three things happening right in the midst of the psalm. Uh, The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. The floods have lifted up their roaring. And then you go to how majestic than the thunders of mighty waters. How majestic than the waves of the seas. How majestic on high is the Lord. And then it finishes up with moving from that defeat of the waters of chaos, which basically is creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it talks about this, the earth just being this vast sea of chaos in Genesis. Okay. But it ends up with your decrees, your words. It's what you have to say, O Lord, are very sure. And how long do these last? Forevermore. Literally, for the length of days, as long as time goes on. Perfect psalm for Christ the King Sunday. Who's in charge? Yahweh's in charge. Our God is in charge. Jesus is King of the universe. Enjoy your day. God's blessings be with you.